Alright, so basically, I don't know why, but I got the urge to make another video. I've been kind of busy in my survival world. Currently, I've printed off a few ships. So, in the last video that I made, I printed off this ship here, called it the Mercy. Since then, I've modified it a little bit. So instead of the rail guns that I wanted, I took that out and I swapped it for custom missiles. I ripped that design from a pretty popular YouTuber. I don't remember his name. If I remember to, I'll put credits in the description for that missile design. But basically, I watched a video, copied the design, and made my own little blueprint with my own little customizations to it. But it's just a little missile turret there, or not turret, but launcher. It only has one launch tube, so it's not really all that effective. I mean, it works for getting like the Vectorum twin rail ships out of the way. So I can fire this off from like 5,000 meters, and it'll cruise on over to them and just kind of like distract them and stuff, get them to fly off, kind of save me a little bit of time. That's how I was able to do the Vectorum encounter. I found the one with the drill, and to kind of get in there, I just used that sort of strategy and fired a missile off, and it distracted the drone enough to where he flew off God knows where, and I was able to get in there and pull this drill out. Then I went over to Creative to design just a simple little ship here. I call this the Doug. It's just got 3 large cargo containers on there. Thruster pack here that it's thrust in both vertical and both horizontal directions with just a conveyor tube connecting the drills up to the cargo running through the middle. And then over here I have the Prototech drill with 6 regular large grid drills on either side, and that's just so that way it will be able to fully bore into asteroids and stuff. And I actually put a lot of work and effort in with all these event controllers. I have flight, like 2 flight computers or flight AI on there with 2 different flight recorders. I have a timer block in there somewhere, but basically I have it set up to where I can turn on those drills. It'll turn on these small rear thrusters, and it will automatically just bore in whatever direction you're facing on the asteroid. It'll just bore straight in and keep going up until all 3 of these cargoes and the Prototech drill inventory is full. Once that's full, it will back out of there utilizing one of the flight controllers. So when you turn on the drills, it'll make a waypoint, and then they'll drill in, and when it fills up, it'll stop the drills, make another waypoint. It has an event controller to flip those waypoints around and to play the recording of the waypoints, as well as turn on the flight block designated for that, and it will back out of the tunnel. And then after 1 minute, once those drills have turned off and it started to back out, I've done it with a timer just because I couldn't figure out any good way to automatically add what I needed to the waypoints being created. So I have it set on a timer. It's not exactly the most effective way. If I could figure out another way to do it, I will. But currently it's just on a timer, so it will back out. As soon as it starts to back out, it'll play a 1 minute timer. Once that timer ends, it will turn off the tunnel exit AI and turn on the docking AI, which is what the second flight controller and recorder is for, and it will dock back up. So basically you can go out to an asteroid, like say, I don't know, this one over here. If you wanted to go to that asteroid, just fly the ship out there, find a good place to mine, turn it on, it'll drill, it'll back up, and then it'll come back to base and it'll dock up. So all you have to do is just take it over there, line it up, and press the button, and the rest Doug will take care of it. And with these three large cargo containers, that's quite a good amount of storage. If I do cargo, so each one has 421, basically 422,000 liters worth of volume for raw ores, and then the Prototech drill default has 50,000 liters of volume for ore. So with all that together, you have a fairly large chunk of ore. I did do a pipe on the either side connected to a sorter block that you can turn on and off. It's not set to dump, but it's just set to whitelist stone. And then all of these are set to collect and dump. So once you turn on the sorter, it will allow these to pull only stone through that junction and then throw the stone out. So if you wanted to just fill up on, like, say, uranium or something, and you accidentally grab up a bunch of stone along with it, you can dump out that stone. I would recommend being careful with it because it puts like small little chunks everywhere, and you don't want to hit that and ruin your ship, especially the Prototech drill, because these components are really hard to get a hold of. And basically if you fuck up your drill and you don't have any other way to get those components, you have to go and fight the Factorum again and try to get the components you need just based on luck to fix it. So you want to avoid that. Anyway, built that. I've also built a second Maggie over here. This one is tied specifically to the Mercy craft here. The idea being I can take Mercy with Maggie 2 out to do like a Factorum raid or whatever. Take out all the drones and everything, and then with Maggie 2 I can go and rip out the components that I want to scrap. I can use the drills, or if there's like large blocks like that drill that I want, I can use Maggie's mag plate for that to just pull those out, and then I can just like weld them on somewhere. The Prototech drill, I just welded it right there and just flew back to base with it on the side of the ship. But basically the idea being that Mercy with Maggie 2 is going to be like my scrapper ship to go out and grab stuff. Right now you'll notice I have all of my ships just kind of stuck to one another. They're all stuck over to Mercy, and then I have Mercy set as a static grid with all the batteries and thrusters off, so that way I'm not wasting any fuel or power while it's while all my ships are sitting over here. But the reason for that is I'm trying to do a full base overhaul. I got tired of looking at the brick, so I ripped out the air vent after pulling up whatever air I could, and now I'm going to go through and I'll rip all this down. I'll get rid of the grinder pit. I've already ripped off the printer that I had, so that's gone now. Yeah, it was right here and it extended out this way, but I ripped that out. And basically I'm just going to take off all the excess armor blocks and stuff, and I'm going to redesign the base this time without having the atmosphere, like internal atmosphere in mind. Or not atmosphere, like a pressurized hole. I'm not gonna try to go for that again, just because it's really bulky and kind of annoying to do with how big of a base this is currently, which realistically it's not that big of a base, but having armor around everything makes it really hard to decide where I need to like cut out to add on to the core inventory system. So if I instead go for a open design where everything's just kind of welded together in one clump, it's going to be really terrible for protection of the main components of the base. So if like were to get attacked or whatever, everything would be extremely vulnerable, which isn't ideal, but I think I'm willing to make that sacrifice in exchange for the ability to easily add on to the storage. Basically, the issue I ran into is once I made this large grid mining ship, I realized 3 massive cargo containers full of ores that take ages to refine is not going to fit inside of the 3 large cargoes that I had for everything else, all the components and all that. So basically I named all my base general cargoes just BCCG with a number behind it so it's easy to find. But all of these components, like as you can see, I have 200,000 liters here, 118,000 there, another 200 here, another 421,000 liters of just random components. So all of that wasn't going to fit along with all the ore from just a single trip of the mining ship. So I wanted to expand the cargo out. And then that led me to discover that it's really difficult to expand the base if I have it wrapped in armor. So now I'm just going through and slowly working at removing all that armor. The one thing that I might keep is this sort of base plate here, I guess you could say. I might keep this. I'll probably change around the layout of it some, but everything like all these connectors and stuff, I'm gonna rip all those out and replace them, which means all of these ships that I have with auto docking, which is all of them except for the that black one on the front there. That ship's just scrap that I managed to get a hold of, but all the rest of those ships, including the one I'm in right now, all have auto docking. So when I make the new docking system for the base, I'm going to have to reprogram all of my ship's auto docking procedures, which is going to be a pain, but I think it will be worth it once I get everything organized in a way that I kind of like and will be able to expand on to actually utilize the like the whole reason that I did this particular layout for my base inventory system, which was the idea being expandability. And I kind of lost that idea when I went to go for internal pressurization, because then you have to wrap everything in armor, and then if you want to expand you have to cut the armor away, add what you're going to add, and then you have to put new armor all the way around whatever you added and try to ensure that everything's connected up and stuff and it's not got any holes in it, because if it's not airtight you won't be able to pressurize it. I do have a mod now to where if I go to an air vent there is an option to show leak, and it'll give me a little pathway on the HUD to where any holes are where it's not airtight. But the base game does not allow for that. Like, there's no option for it. So If you're trying to play like vanilla or whatever, trying to do a pressurized hole can be very, very obnoxious, especially when you try to make like something like the edge of a cargo container um, be open just to have access to the port from the outside, and then you realize, oh, the edge of that block isn't airtight. But if you don't know that, and you built your whole base around that, you can spend like hours trying to figure out why in the world can I not pressurize my the internal hole. And that's kind of the problem I ran into when I first did my base wrapped in armor, was just having issues figuring out where all those holes were. That's why I got the mod to let me be able to find it. But yeah, I've probably put about 20 or 30 hours in since I recorded that last video. So I put in a good bit of time. In fact, actually, I did put the go here to the blueprints. I did put the Doug blueprint on the workshop. So if you have the game on Steam and you head over to the Steam workshop, you can actually grab that ship, and you can see how I did the programming for it. It's a little bit complicated, kind of messy. Unfortunately, there's no great way to oops, actually don't need to grind that. There's no great way to organize how you program stuff. Like there's no just all-in-one kind of window to help you easily keep track of what turns on and turns off each other. So you're basically just relegated to having a really good system in place for naming the blocks to try to help keep track of them. Another thing I guess you could do is utilize an external program to kind of help you draw out the kind of things that you need to your ship to be able to do, and then from there you can kind of draw out how like all the steps that need to take place in order for that particular task to be done, and then from there try to map out how exactly you go about turning it from being something that needs to be done manually to something that can be done with a event controller, timer block, or the AI flight modules. But it's a pretty cool waste of time. Honestly, I really like playing this game. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I hit like 320 hours now in Space Engineers as a whole, which I had played a while. A couple of years ago, I think I had like 150, 160 hours in. But the last few months I've been playing it, and I've got another 150 in. So, but also it's been so many years now. When I was first playing, it was still actually in beta, if I'm not mistaken, or early access. But the game's gotten a whole lot of updates, a whole lot of new content and stuff since I had played those years ago. And I guess that's kind of got me interested back into the game. Kind of got the that sort of autistic hyper focus or hyper fixation on the game right now. So, oops, let me turn these drills off. In fact, actually, let me. Yeah, I'll go over here. I'll go to my Steam profile real quick. Space Engineers, yeah, I got 356 hours on record and 97.2 in the last 2 weeks. So I've been putting more time into this game than I do at work. So, if that tells you anything about how my hyperfixation is going. Alright, let me get out of the ship here and kind of back up a little bit. Oops, turn off the HUD. Let me get an idea of how much more I need to do. I think I'm just about there. Yeah, honestly, it just looks like a few more bits on the back corner here, and then the grind pit. That can go, and then I'll pretty much be done with doing the reskilling like I want to do. Actually, I'm thinking about maybe getting rid of this, actually, the whole base plate on the backside here. Because that's the one thing about these car containers, I really like the way that they look. But they don't have connection ports on every side, which makes it a little bit of a pain to decide how you want to do, like, external docks and everything. Like, do I want to do a dock coming off of each cargo container? Or do I want to have, like, just a little pipe coming off the end that splits off into the docks? Or, you know, but I can't do anything on the sides. Whereas if I had the other containers, which I don't like the way they look, but if I had them, I could do something on either side rather than just the front, back, top, or bottom. Oh, and these I need to fix. Let's go over here. Grab up everything I can. Yeah, okay, it didn't take much. And I just realized I didn't have my hood on that entire time. But yeah, I don't have too much left to do. Let's get in here. Yeah, the cargo here is getting pretty full. So, come back around. And number 5, and let it dock itself. Thinking I can probably get at least the rest of the armored sections I need to in one more run. The grind pit itself is probably going to take about 4 runs to get everything ground down. And I'll probably end up redoing this dock as well. The only reason that I didn't put this ship with the rest over there is because I needed one to help make the process of grinding everything off a whole lot smoother. Go to the inventory. Now it should be a whole lot faster. Yep. And let's see here. Probably don't want to cut off that block just yet. No one with the flashing lights. That has all of my controllers and everything for like the base power grid. I think those timers that are flashing up there is actually still for the what's it called? The airlock doors, which I no longer have airlocks because it's no longer airtight. I just disconnected the beacon by mistake. So I'll just grind that down and relocate it, I guess. Or no, not beacon, antenna. I think I said that wrong. And one thing that I still need to do as well is reorganize hydrogen engines over there. Which actually, I guess, I don't know why they call them engines instead of hydrogen generators, because that's really all they are. The engine itself doesn't do anything other than produce power, so it's basically just like a glorified hydrogen engine, or generator. Yeah. Which I think it probably operates similarly to like a steam engine. Or well, not in game, but like if it were, if you were to try to make something similar utilizing actual real world technologies, it would probably end up functioning something like a steam engine. Sort of like how nuclear power is. Basically, a nuclear generator is nothing more than glorified steam power. Granted, it is very complex in how to actually do it safely and have the proper shutoffs, and especially like getting the materials necessary to uh, dampen the particles and stuff bouncing around. Also, I've recently learned that a nuclear meltdown technically only happens when the fuel itself melts. But, that was something I thought was pretty interesting, because like there's a few nuclear disasters where it's really popularly called meltdowns when in reality they didn't actually melt. Like the solid fuel did, so it technically wasn't. It's just called that, I guess, based on its popularity. Like it's more sensational to say, oh, this nuclear power plant had a meltdown, versus saying, oh, well, they had a failure of this, and this, not actually, what had happened, but more so just trying to make headlines, I guess, would be the best way to put it without tripping over my words. Unfortunately, that's something that goes on a lot now, too. It's just news organizations and stuff just putting stuff out that isn't necessarily true, but just has an attention-grabbing headline is like really all they care about. I'm not gonna lie, man, like for as boring as this is, it still somehow like got me fully attentive to the game. I don't know, it's just something about this game just tickles my ADHD riddled mind. Yeah, the inventory is getting a little full now, but I'm just about done with all the armor pieces I needed to get rid of. So. I think part of it is I grabbed that antenna as well, which the radio components are extremely large as far as their inventory volume goes. They're not even really all that heavy per se, it just takes up a huge volume, which kind of sucks. Go build an antenna and you gotta go back and forth between the antenna and the container like 6 or 7 times just to get all the radio components you need. If I remember to add that antenna back, you'll definitely be able to see firsthand how much inventory space it takes, how many trips you need. It sucks. Let's get turned around here. Let's see. Probably start off with the... Oops, no, don't break that. Start off with this connector here, so that way it doesn't fly off into space. Wait, it's not moving. Oh, I have, what was it called? It's like subgrid, or substation, parts or whatever. Where basically if a block on a static grid gets cut from the grid, it doesn't turn dynamic like it normally would in the base game. I have that option changed to where station blocks that are disconnected from the station will become a separate grid, but still be a station. So I don't get little pieces that fly off in all directions. Give me a headache. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to probably make a few more trips before I get all of what I want ground down off. But I've been watching some more videos and stuff on like different base designs. Well, not like specifically base designs, but I've just been watching a lot of like Space Engineers content and been seeing a lot of unique base design ideas and stuff. I kind of want to try some of it out. There's nothing like specifically that I want to go for, but there are a few blocks that I have in mind as far as like trying those out and seeing how they do as far as like decoration, like looks and stuff. There was one station in particular that I seen. It was the video was about a multiplayer server for Space Engineers where people team up into factions and build up their own factions and try to prepare for large battles and everything. And I seen one station up there. It was absolutely massive, but it was completely modular, sort of like how I like to go for. That's like modularity is kind of like my my ideal style for bases and stuff like that. And they had a really unique system where like there were huge like production not facilities, but like systems, basically like a fully enclosed, well, not enclosed, but uh, like say 30 or 40 refineries, like all in a large square formation, uh, with sort of like scaffolding all the way around it, and each section it has the exact same like layout as far as like how the scaffolding is organized and everything, and on all the corners of the scaffolding there's thrusters on it. And then of course, so kind of like a centralized battery bank, and on every every side there was a configuration of 5 connectors that lined up with other modules, and basically you could print off like whatever module you needed and then just connect it up to the base utilizing the 5-point connector system. So if you were lacking on storage, you could just print off a storage module, or if you're lacking in production, you need to be able to refine more ores, and you can just print off a refinery module. Or your power generation is not quite where it needs to be, you can print off a hydrogen engine or reactor module and just connect those up as need be. And it actually had a really, really nice look to it. And I don't know, it was just something about that design that kind of caught my eye, and I'm thinking about giving something sort of like that a try. I don't really want to copy it one for one, which I'm gonna, you know, definitely avoid doing. I don't like to just rip off designs necessarily. Like with the missile that I nabbed, I would prefer to not do that, but that design, it was just so efficient and small, I couldn't really help it. Plus, that design, ooh, I just ground on a thing I didn't mean to. That design, it was using the bare minimum blocks necessary um, to actually make a functioning rocket. So it'd be really hard to design anything that's similar as far as looks go, but, or not similar, what am I even saying? It would be really hard to design something that's a similar size and everything without it pretty much being a copy anyway. So, okay, there's still a few more floating components here. Motors and these plates. Didn't realize the inventory had filled up all the way already. Now one thing I do need to do, it's conveyor, not connector. Yeah, I'll just grab that, and no, actually I don't need that. No key. Conveyor right there. See if we have that. Yep. Got all the components I needed right in there. Wonderful. Okay. Now. Because forward and reverse have the most thrusters, it's more efficient to go in this way than it is to back off and go around. But just fly around over there and turn on the auto dock, dump off slow materials, and get right back to it. Back to the grind, as it were. If I do decide to keep this kind of plate here, I'll probably end up copying the design that I have so far as connectors. I'll pull that off. What I was talking about is these not connectors, they're conveyors. So every 2 blocks, I removed an armor and placed a conveyor. That's because it coincides with the connectors on the storage. So if I do the conveyors all the way down, then I'll have places that I can easily put ports and stuff to pull whatever I might would need out of the ship, or if I need parts, like say I'm trying to repair a scavenge ship or something. If I need to pull parts, I can just throw a connector down, parts out of the connector, and then grind it back off. But yeah, if I keep this plate, I'm definitely going to be adding more of these in there. But like I said, I'm not entirely sure exactly what I want to do with the base just yet. But I'm definitely getting rid of the pressurized wall. All empty, so now I can go and take off some of the blocks. Yeah, the event controller's gonna stay over there. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to try to grind that off with the ship, because I'm definitely going to catch something I don't need to. Let's do this right here by hand. I'm going to run out of space if I do that last block. Put everything off. And get rid of this. Okay. So, yeah, that's definitely all of the... so all these are red. Is that just because there's no ice, or is there no... how? Got ice, that's for sure. Yeah, it's got ice, so it's gotta be lacking on power. I think. Oh, never mind. No, let me check my hydrogen tanks. Yeah, they're both full, and I think all these oxygen tanks are full. Not quite. Interesting. They should still be filling up. Let's see. Oxygen tanks. I'm just gonna grab all of them. Start on. No, oxygen store. Huh. Battery, stored power. So I have about 1/4, a little bit more. Yeah, a little bit more than 1/4 power. All these are on auto. So the O2 generator should be running. So yeah, that one should be connected to this one, which I know that one's connected up proper. Also know this one's connected up proper. It's not doing anything. Oh, well that would be why. Base O2 gens, somehow they got toggled off. I wonder. Okay. Yeah, now all the oxygen tanks are full. Let's see. That's getting pretty close to some batteries. It's not going to rip up the battery because I can't get the power cells back if you burn down the battery. I don't understand why though, because when you build like a hydrogen generator, or I guess I should say engine because the H2O
Inventory
is already
full.
called a generator. Anyway, point being, when you build that, it requires a single power cell. Now, when you deconstruct the engines, you get that single power cell back. It's not destroyed. That's the same for anything else that has power cells aside from batteries. Batteries are the only item, aside from like Vertec plugs, where when you grind it down, you lose those components, which is kind of annoying. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there is a mod that fixes that and makes it to where batteries will refund your power cells. If I recall correctly, the reason for that is because when you build a battery in the base game, when you first build it, it has a little bit of a charge on it. So if you're just starting out with the base, right, you don't have power generation up yet, but you need power to, like, I don't know, say open a door or, something, whatever it is, you just need a little bit of power, but you don't have any generation. You can build the battery, and the battery will have enough charge to get you started. Whereas, or basically, if you could get all your power cells back, you could grind a battery down a little bit and load it back up and get free power for nothing. Which I think that's the issue they're trying to solve with making you have to rebuild those power cells rather than refunding the component. Because right now, base game, if you grind a battery down, the power cells will turn into scrap metal, which you can then put into a refinery to turn it back into iron blocks. But you lose all the other materials that was needed to actually produce those power cells, which I think is like nickel and silicone or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. It's a few extra materials, but all you get back currently base game is just iron, and it's not even a lot. So I think the issue that you're trying to solve with that though is just the fact that you don't they don't want you to be able to get free power just by grinding the block down a little bit and building it back. Which, I mean, I guess that's understandable. I think the mod, or at least the one that I'm thinking of, changes the batteries in the way that they function to where you can no longer get free power when you build them if you have the mod installed. So there's a few like beginning playstyle methods that won't work if you have the mod, or at least if they rely on batteries having power when you first place them. Oh, now I realize why I kept that there. Gyros are now free floating. So I should probably just go ahead and grind these off. I'll just replace them later. God, they take up a good chunk of my inventory volume. I don't think I'll be able to grab all of them. Maybe. It'll be really close. Yeah, okay. So I was able to grab all of them. Nice. Realizing now I'm definitely going to need a a very spaced out docking layout, just to have room for all of these ships. The large grid ships really do get very large very quick, and a lot of these don't actually have that many extra systems. I know Mercy has a couple of refineries, I think maybe a assembler, some O2 generation, hydrogen engines, and then she unfortunately requires both ion and hydrogen thrust in order to move in all directions, which I still haven't fixed that. I need to go, and I really like how fast a hydrogen moves, and now with having the that extra mining ship, and I did park right next to a massive ice asteroid before I started doing this, so that way I have access to a ton of ice to convert to fuel. So I actually should be able to produce a ton of hydrogen. So actually I can probably convert, instead of the hydrogen to ion, I can convert the other way around to turn all these ion thrusters into hydrogen thrust. The only caveat to that is it's going to be more difficult to actually do that, because the hydrogen engines require conveying, whereas ion does not. So the trade-off there being ion's weaker, but you get more of them easier placed, whereas with hydrogen it's far more powerful, but it consumes fuel and you have to conveyor all your thrusters. Then that also has a part to play when you go to do like combat and stuff. If your ship gets damaged and you lose a major conveyor line, then you know, there goes your thrust basically, unless you have spare conveyoring. That takes up an absolute ton of space on your ship. Trying to think, how better could I lay these out so that way I don't have to get in the way of adding more cargo. Because the original design here I had, it works surprisingly well, but the issue is I could have more if I knew how to lay them out properly. I think if instead I laid them all on their side and then did like a wall of conveyors here in place of that block, and in this empty space, and then in place of this block, and then laid them end to end, where one of them connects up to here and one of them connects up to here, and I should be able to just lay them end to end all the way down and expand it out that way. Yeah, I think that should work. It's just gonna be a pain to do, but let's see. Get a good look at these hydrogen engines as well. These are really annoying to conveyor up because they have port here. They have one port on that bottom side where these two are faced together. But that's pretty much all they have, so your conveyor layout relies on trying to line them up. It's kind of like an L-shaped configuration, and trying to lay them out in a way where you can kind of daisy chain them but have it wrap around and fill out a space. I guess you could also just do like a row of piping and then just connect them all to piping instead. See, another thing I was thinking about doing is maybe getting rid of these conveyor sorters here and just let the inventory just be completely open rather than trying to divide everything out. Like, I'm a fan of having everything organized, but at the same time, that does take up a good bit of space and sometimes is a pain to work around. See, base batteries still have a power charge. So yeah, the threshold's 15%, and these blocks are all at 24. So I'll actually be charging for a little bit here. Still have twice the limit, even though those batteries are showing dead. Guess it's like right at the edge of what they can actually display. If I expand the oxygen out, that's going to cover the backside of these. Have one block worth of room for conveyoring down there. So the refineries will come out this way. So probably, I mean, I can definitely work with that, but just trying to get an idea for how I want it laid out. I'm also thinking I might actually want to expand the gravel sifters and stuff, because now that I have such a large mining vessel over there, I could actually just load up on a ton of stone and utilizing the gravel sifter, it basically divides out into all just random resources. So I could just be mass refining stone down into usable materials, rather than trying to go and find specific resources. Although I guess I would need an absolute ton of them. Sure, I have the parts to do it. Just be a pain. Another thing that I want to change is the location of my reactor. I want that somewhere else. Where I want it, I don't know, but I definitely don't want it to be on my assembler. I'll need it to have access to that cargo container, though. Yeah, you know what? Screw it. I'll just leave that there. It's gonna be kind of odd looking, having a gap in between my assembler lines there, but I guess I have a similar situation over here where I want this refinery to be able to do everything, including the high value resources, whereas these I want only to be able to do the low value resources. So I can like mass spam these with the not mistaken, yeah, these are speeds, whereas this is yield. So like the more rare resources will get refined out here, whereas everything else will get refined out up here. Hence the gap for the sorters. And I need that sorter there. Like I can't just, sort out only certain ones to go this way, but then have a open port over here, because then it'll pull directly through rather than go through the sorter. So I have to have this sorter here to stop it from backflowing in there, because that one there is pointed to go this way only. So no material can come into these refineries except for through that piping there. I'm feeling like I kind of want to move the engines to be on the sides of my hydrogen. I could just fill up the sides here with engines in this kind of back corner. Sort of like how I have the reactors in this corner of it. I guess if I come up here, I'll be able to show what I mean a little bit better. It's like I have that in that corner, and I'm thinking about having the hydrogen over in this corner. Then I'll have my power on diagonals of each other, but another thing that I definitely need to expand on is wait, just looking at it now, well, no, that won't be an issue. I can rotate the cargoes to be on the side without any port, so I'll connect up here by mistake. Anyway, what was I yapping about? Oh, jump drives. I need to make a couple more jump drives.
Low.
There it is. Hop in here and charge up my suit. Well, actually, I guess, because I do have my reactor still connected up. It'll burn the uranium. I guess I can go ahead and move those hydrogen engines. Just gotta be careful not to delete the control blocks. Actually, before I do that, let me grab some light armor and pull components from a couple of these. And I just want to make sure that that's actually connected to that cargo before I grind that off. Because if it's not connected, it'll not be able to actually control the power production as far as my reactor goes. So it won't kick on automatically and then turn off automatically. And I do want that to still function properly, so I'm going to try to not disconnect those controllers. And if you hear like a crackling sort of sound and me inhaling, that's me smoking on my vape. Currently I got the Juice Head Orange Mango juice in my mod. I got the Smock Morph 2 mod, and I'm using a Smock T-Air tank. It's supposed to be leak proof, which so far I've actually not had any major leaks using this tank since I've started using it, and I'm actually kind of impressed with that. Now, when I take the cap off to fill it up, there is, you know, a good amount of juice just kind of sitting in there on the seals inside, but I've never had any of that juice make its way out. So I'm actually really impressed with that tank. The juice I got now, it's only got 3 milligrams per milliliter of nicotine. Normally I like to smoke 6, but they didn't have this flavor in 6 milligrams, so I don't know what the lower dosage. Yep. And that's the other component that's really annoying, is large still tubes. As you can tell, it's really filling up my inventory. Once I've got all the steel tubes over, then it goes over real smooth. But until you get all the tubes, you gotta go back and forth, which I guess is highlighting a issue I hadn't thought about, which is I don't have a large gripper welder. And Maggie, even having her grinders switched out for welders, still has a relatively tiny inventory compared to the components I'll be needing for the construction of everything I plan to add. But I have 2 more hydrogen tanks, and these should be filling up. Yeah, it's already 2%. So these are currently working their asses off to get rid of all this ice I have. Yeah. Just over 1 million liters of actually no, that's mass. So that's over almost 1.2 million kilograms. Or no, it's like 1.2 tons. So that's 1,000 kilograms. Or actually no, 1,000,000 kilograms. Jesus. I don't know the metric system all that well, unfortunately. I know it's a whole lot better than the imperial system that we utilize in the States, but unfortunately I wasn't taught that in school, so, or at least not to the degree that I feel I should have been. So unfortunately, the ease of the metric system still slips my grasp. go ahead and get to work on this grind pit here. Ooh. Just missed a block. There we go. Oh, and another thing you'll probably hear in the background, which I think was present in my last few videos, is the really loud, annoying fan sound that you've probably heard. That's my AC. And having my PC running this game, my PC gets very hot, which makes my room very hot. So that AC is not going to be turned off. So, sorry, not sorry. You're just going to have to deal with that sound if you watch the video. Okay, you can always just cut it off if you don't like it. The video, I mean, not my AC. If you cut my AC off, that means you've probably broken into my house, which is not going to be very good for one of the two of us. Now, another thing that I was thinking about doing, sort of like how I had my printer kind of on a extending platform that I could retract to print a ship. I was thinking about when I redo the grind pit, instead of have it be a pit that I drag stuff into, I could instead lock something down to my base utilizing a landing gear and have all of the grinders set to a similar sort of system where I can have them all on one panel that I can extend and retract with an additional kind of piston setup, sort of like how the printer had. And then I can just park whatever I want to scrap kind of within a probably marked for safety kind of landing grid, and just extend the grinders out to move over the scrap rather than moving the scrap to the grinders. Because a lot of times those chunks of ships and everything, like, you can't just fly them in there into the grind pit, because as you go the thrusters will get ground off and then you'll lose mobility and you have parts flying everywhere. Whereas if you move the grinder to the ship, I feel as though the likelihood of those issues coming into play would be severely minimized. Okay. Now Maggie is handling extremely terribly, just due to being completely overloaded. Yeah, that's a lot. Currently we're weighing in at 120 million kilograms, or 120 million grams, I guess. tons, I don't know. However that works. I think it would be in tons. And just like that, inventory is empty. One major design flaw that I kind of regret now, as far as the Maggie is concerned, is the fact that I only have 3 thrusters on either side for the horizontal direction, whereas for up and down I have 8 up, 8 down. And front and back I have the large thrusters, and then of course the front I have not only the large thruster but also 9 additional small thrusters, just for faster braking than acceleration. The idea being it would be much better to have a higher braking force than an accelerating force when it comes to moving large chunks of debris. It's because when I need to stop quick, I want to be able to stop. You know, in case I make a mistake and start heading for some important components of my base or something. You know, I want to be able to put an end to that before smacking into my base. So, with only having the 3 small thrusters on either side, it's really helpful for precise control while grinding, but it's really annoying when you're trying to orientate in a certain direction and you're limited in acceleration in certain directions. Because really you're not limited in speed other than just the base game 100 meter per second limitation. As long as you have thrust in a direction, you can reach the max speed with that, which is pretty interesting to think about. It's all just issue would be being able to stop in a timely manner, like how long it takes you to get to that speed and to decelerate from that speed. I see a block I missed. There we go. Much better. Alright. That's the grind pit going. Get rid of the button control and action relay for that. Go. Oh, and one thing that I found really interesting with the action relays is just the fact that, you know, what they're designed for is basically allowing a event controller on a separate grid to be capable of affecting another grid, which is really cool, and the possibilities you could utilize that for, such as remotely automating like missiles or something, right? Like you could build and launch a missile with kind of like a preset override to launch them out, and then from your actual ship you could do the like all the event controller stuff from your main ship before it gets out of range of the antenna, rather than doing like on the missile all of your control programming direct on the missile. You could save on the resources that you're sending off to kamikaze just by having one action relay in place of all the event controllers and timers. Like this missile here, it utilizes 2 timers, 2 event controllers, and I think that's it, just 2 timers and 2 event controllers. But still, you could get rid of all that and just do 1 event controller and 1 action relay. And then on launch the missile, have it set default just to cruise in like the forward direction for set amount of time or something. And then on your ship, what you could do is have a event controller where when the missile is launched, that activates the event controller, or I guess timer would also work. Actually, timer would work better. Activate the timer when you launch the missile, and then after a set amount of time, have the action relay on the ship signal to the action relay on the missile to turn on the event controller on the missile to activate the guidance system. And then that way you trade out an event controller and 2 timers for 1 action relay. Cut down on the size of the missile a little bit. Not a lot, but definitely save resources. We'll be sending 2 less timer blocks and 1 less event controller off to be destroyed. Or lost to space if the missile loses tracking. Alright, so what exactly do I have on here? Airlock timers, I don't need those. Solar timers, I don't need those. Power grid, I do need. The beacon and the solar array custom turret, I don't need. So, just need to find a place for 2 event controllers. Which actually, well, when below a certain range, I can charge But then I would just keep... Yeah, okay, so 2 event controllers. Because basically, the reason I had to, now that I think about it, is because, one of them, the charge, is set to a much lower limit than the auto, power event control. So that way, when the power gets below a certain point, it'll kick on. But then it won't turn off the generation until it reaches a much higher limitation, or limit, not limitation. Oh, I guess limitation. That sense as well. See, I could do the hydrogen engines on this side, just so I can have those on the same side rather than putting. Yeah, so I could just have like the refineries just come off as a one long stick. Cargo can expand out this way in the form of one long stick. And the power and hydrogen. So yeah, the engines, the hydrogen, the reactors, and everything can extend off of the long stick this way. The assemblers would extend off that way. So actually go this way, kind of fill space. I keep yawning, I can't help it. But those would extend off that way as well. I'm realizing now, probably should actually put those cargo containers extending off in the opposite direction. Because I'm not gonna need to extend that much. Probably won't need to extend that much. I'm not gonna need an absolute massive amount of jump drives. Probably just about, I think 6 in total should be right about where I want to be. Just for the ability to jump with all of these ships connected to the base. 6 of them should give me a really high mass limit for what I can jump with, as well as still giving me a decent range with all the weight I'd be having attached to it. So I guess now I want to think about where all my docks would be for everything. I guess what I can do, I can leave that Maggie there. I can set this grid to be static. And that might be a bad idea. Yeah, I'm not going to use that Maggie because that might smack into my small grid miner. Check it. Need anymore, really. I might grind that down too. But go ahead. Get rid of this. So I have fewer, well, one less ship to look at while trying to figure out how I want to have my docks set up. This is gonna take quite a few trips. In fact, actually, let me check. What time is it? It's 12:33. And I'm pretty tired. So I'm thinking I might go ahead and save off here and watch YouTube while I try to fall asleep for a while. I'll go ahead and get one full cargo load before I make any decision on that, but I'm thinking I might end the recording sometime soon here. Let's see. What the hell's my phone doing? Oh, price alerts. Okay. Oh, also, I've recently done my taxes, which I utilize Cash App's free tax filing option. And before I'd done it, I was worried, you know, that it was going to be a pain in the ass to do because that's the first year that I actually went and made money off of all my stocks and stuff. And I had never filed taxes with stocks and like Bitcoin profits and stuff. I was kind of worried it was going to be a pain in the ass to do. But actually, Cash App's tax filing system is really simple. It only took like 10 minutes at most to manually punch in all the trades and stuff I've done, because it's just that simple to follow. So I was actually really impressed with that experience. I don't know why I thought about that, but I did, and now you know. So guess maybe if you're annoyed with the usual headache of tax season, having to go to a place to sit for hours while you get your taxes done and everything, I guess you could you now know Cash App's pretty nice. Maybe give the free tax filing a try on there. And actually, Cash App just in general, I've used it for a while. I'm actually, you know, quite happy with the security of it and everything. Like, basically, I use my Cash App account as kind of like a daily banking account, where my main bank account hardly ever actually touch, aside from utilizing it to pay like the repetitive bills that are due every month. Whereas the Cash App, I just have, you know, a few hundred on there, and then the stocks and everything that I own. And I just use that for when I go to get food or anything like that. If my limit gets low, I can just send cash from my main account to my Cash App account just in the app. Then, you know, if my card's lost or stolen, I can freeze it from the app and everything. So I don't know how it got off onto this tangent, but Cash App, not sponsored. I wish I had sponsors. That'd be pretty cool. But with the way I upload and don't really care a whole lot about my content, I doubt that'll ever happen. But it'd be pretty cool. Anyway, back from that side tangent. Cash App's pretty cool. If you haven't tried it, I definitely recommend giving it a go. So hydrogen have I gotten in these tanks yet? 37. So yeah, it's pretty slow fueling. Granted, I'm doing 2 at one time, but thinking that that'd probably be pretty solid as far as fuel generation, because I don't think, yeah, this isn't going to burn up that much fuel. If I'm not mistaken, I went out when I grabbed the drill. That was like a 60-kilometer flight that I made with Mercy, and by the time I came back, I still had 90% of my fuel. So, granted, that was 3. I think, yeah, she has 2 here. I think there's a 3rd hydrogen tank on her somewhere. Yeah, right here. So she's got 3 large grid grid hydrogen tanks, which is pretty good amount of fuel. I think each one is 150,000 liters, so that would be 450,000 liters of fuel, and I only burned 10% going back and forth on a 60-kilometer flight. Granted, I was cruising most of that time, so basically just getting up to the 100-meter-per-second speed limit and then turning dampeners off. So that does conserve a ridiculous amount of fuel as compared to going full thrust that entire flight. But still, that's not too bad. I think she can carry enough fuel to effectively do planetary landings. I don't know if 6 small, or well, I say small, but 6 standard hydrogen thrusters. I don't know if that's enough to carry the weight she would be carrying onto a planet, though. Ion thrusters would severely lose effectiveness inside the atmosphere. I think they only have like 20% of their full thrust in atmosphere. So I don't think, well, I certainly don't want to try them. Oh wait, never mind. There's more here. Now how does that not get burned by the hydrogen? Now that I think, yeah, that shouldn't be able to sit there without being burned. How can I phase through that? Huh. I don't know, that's weird. There's some weird shit going on there. Guess maybe that's just the look of the block, but it doesn't actually have a hitbox there. But when you highlight it, its hitbox goes directly in front of the thruster. Yeah, halfway across that thruster is the hitbox for it, or according to this. So I don't know how those don't get burned off. Anyway, that was a lot more time than I was initially thinking about spending. I get really bad at just talking about side tangents and shit. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go to save and then do an exit save. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording and start getting ready to go to bed. Today is, what day is it? Thursday. So one more night at work. Not working a weekend, thankfully. So I can I can afford to lose some playtime in exchange for a decent amount of sleep before working my last day for the next couple of days, or about, I guess, one day because I work nights. So, kind of, I would get off Friday morning and go into work Sunday night, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, so really it's actually just one full day that I get of with not going into work, which kind of sucks. So that's 2 days off, but you only get one full day not having to worry about working. Really messes with my sense of like that feeling of rest and relaxation. Like shit. I'm going on side tangents again. I need to go ahead and go to bed. Yeah, I'm gonna end the recording.